So my name's Darla Huddleston, and I'm the founder of E3 Family Solutions. And this whole journey began when my daughter was going into middle school, and I was beginning to realize that I couldn't be there every minute, and I couldn't make every choice for her that I wanted her to make. So how to figure out how to get her through those teenage years so that she didn't become the next statistic. The thing I was most worried about with her was teen pregnancy, because it was so rampant in that time in the 90s. And it was the thing that everybody was worried about, is the pregnant teens and all of the outcomes of that. And so I began to look for ways to get involved. How can I help her, and not just her, but her friends, avoid that trajectory for their life, which is going to change her life fundamentally, regardless of what so-called choice she might make. So it all began as a volunteer for the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Task Force in Sumter County. From being involved in the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Task Force, a lot of government agencies were worried about teen pregnancy at that time because it's the #1 contributor or the #1 indicator for lifetime poverty. And then we know all of the things that come from living in poverty. So I began to serve on this task force, and a position opened up for consulting job for Lake and Sumter County to see what we can do to help prevent teen pregnancy at the county level, at the larger level than just your own child. And volunteering for that, I actually got that job as a consultant and began to do a lot of research. And one of the things I quickly discovered was it's just not about just teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Because once that door opens to any one of those risky behaviors, all of the other risky behaviors come right in. So we used to say cigarettes are a gateway to drug use or alcohol use. Well, they're all gateways. Sexual activity is a gateway to using alcohol because the girl then maybe feels bad, so she drinks to cover up the pain. Using alcohol may be a gateway to sexual activity, or harder drugs, because again, every one of them is a gateway to those activities. And so in trying to determine how can we get to kids and directly help them directly to take the healthiest choice for themselves. And so from there we looked for a curriculum that we could actually start using in the classroom. And I was very fortunate that I was in Sumter County, because this school system is one of the best counties in the state, I think, to really partner with the community, to really want to do what's best for the kids and to help the kids. And so they allowed us to bring a curriculum into the school. The first curriculum we used was Education Now and Babies Later. It was approved at the state level for the schools to begin using, and we started teaching that program specifically aimed at teen pregnancy prevention. But with that, we started reaching out for other curriculum that could also involve the drug and alcohol use. So we got our daughter through high school. She didn't become a statistic. She went to college, that was all good, and then our son entered high school. Now there's a whole different set of problems. You're not so much worried about the drug use or the teen pregnancy, obviously, with him, or the STDs. You're now more worried about the alcohol, the tobacco, the gangs, all of the things that you worry about with a young man. So again, broadening into that idea that we've got to, instead of teaching kids about the risks of this one thing or that one thing, what we really have to do is come alongside them and develop their assets, their internal personal assets, we call them protective factors, so that they can make the healthiest choice regardless of what the risk is. When we started doing this, we didn't have cell phones, much less smartphones. So we weren't worrying about sexting and sextortion and human trafficking, girls being recruited through social media then. Now we have all of that, and we have to address all of that. So it's not really enough to teach kids about avoiding this one risk, this one drug, this one alcohol, this tobacco product. It's about teaching them to make healthy choices, to set goals, to set dreams, and to recognize how important their daily choices are so that they move towards those healthy choices and stay away from those risks, because there's a new risk right around the corner every time. So we started with a federal grant we got it was called an abstinence education grant. And when that funding was over, we decided to form E3 and look towards helping kids, as I say, in this broader way of avoiding all these risks. Put together a whole new nonprofit that became E3 Family Solutions, and that was in 2010. So we're 11 years old now. We wanted to equip youth to make healthy choices, but we also wanted to come alongside parents, because a lot of parents were where I was when my daughter started high school. How do I get my kids through high school? How do I get them through middle school? And then we wanted to encourage the community to be family friendly and to set policies and to advocate for policies that helped us be family friendly. We put together a curriculum that we thought was the very best for helping kids with all of those choices, and began to look for grants and funders to do that. This past year, we were awarded a federal grant for sexual risk avoidance, but we are within that grant allowed to address all those risk factors, including human trafficking. And we also were awarded a federal grant for a community-based drug and alcohol prevention coalition. So that's more community-based, and then we do the direct prevention program in the classroom with the students. And this year, we've also widely implemented our program for parents to help them understand the teenage brain and what's going on with their kids, why their kids act the way they do. A lot of it's physiological, and the steps that they can take to help those kids mature and develop the ability to make those healthy choices on a consistent basis, so that when they move out away from home, which they eventually will, they can, without mom and dad's guide, without their direct guidance, without their direct boundaries, they can set those boundaries for themselves and make those choices for themselves. So if you're looking for a good place to invest your money that would really help people and that would really change people, we know that there are a lot of immediate needs out there that can be met, but it doesn't really change the course of anyone's life. E3 is a little different because we do change the trajectory of people's lives. Perfect example of that is Michael's story, and Mike is kind of our theme story. We were at a high school in South Lake, and a young man came in and told two of our facilitators one morning, "I think you may have saved my life." And they were like, "Yeah, right, what did we do? We were just here yesterday, this is just Wednesday, how did we save your life?" And he said, "Well, you know that crazy little phrase that you kept giving us, every choice I make now has a consequence later. So if I want good consequences, I have to make good choices." He said, "I couldn't get that stupid little phrase out of my head. And I went to a party last night with some of my buddies. You know the parties I'm talking about, all communities have them. There's no parents, there's no supervision." And he said, "As I'm walking around at this party, I'm thinking, I don't need to be here. There's alcohol and a lot of other things going on. You know, I just don't need to be here. We don't need to be here." So he said, "I went to my buddies and I said, let's leave. This is not a good place for us. We don't need to be here tonight." And they were like, "No, man, we came to party. What's wrong with you? We're staying." So I found this other guy and I talked him into leaving, and we left the party early before it really started getting going. He said, "When I got to school this morning, I found out that those guys had been in a wreck last night coming home from that party. And I would have been in that car with them, except I couldn't get that dumb little phrase, every choice you make now has a consequence later. Couldn't get that out of my head, and I left. So I'm not kidding you when I think that you might have saved my life." Mike's story is our theme story. That's the change that E3 can make in one kid. The trajectory of his life was changed forever because we were there. And that's the kind of investment you can make in our future, our kids, when you invest in E3. So if you're really looking to make change, I would encourage you to consider a $100 investment will pay for 4 students to go through our entire programs from start to finish. $1,000 would pay for a classroom to go through, and $4,000 would pay for us to serve all the students in a grade level, 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, in one school. So you can partner with us in one of several ways. You can write a check, or you can go directly to the website and make a donation on the website. Just know that that investment will help us change a student's life fundamentally for the good and make our community a great place for the future.